This is Keys to the Shop, episode 322, a conversation with LaNisa Williams of Barista Life L.A. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFirio. I'm your host for the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. If you are not subscribed to Keys to the Shop, you might be missing out, We publish a lot of episodes here at Keys to the Shop, and I really want you to stay updated. The best way to do that is to hit subscribe wherever you are listening to this podcast right now, or your preferred podcast player. And that also helps the show get more visibility and, again, keeps you in the loop. So it's a great thing to do. Now, also, if you really love these episodes and you think somebody might enjoy this, I would encourage you to share it with them. Tell them about Keys to the Shop, tell them about that episode, and spread the message far and wide. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, Keys to the Shop is nominated as a finalist in the 13th annual Sprudgies. You can consider it Coffee's Academy Awards. There's lots of different categories, notable roasters, best coffee writing, outstanding achievement in a field of excellence, and then there's best coffee podcast. And Keys to the Shop is listed among some great podcasts, and I would really appreciate your vote. All you need to do is go to sprudge.com/vote and select Keys to the Shop. And thank you so much for everyone who nominated Keys to the Shop for this. Really appreciate that and would appreciate your vote in the finals now. So thank you, everyone. And, one of the things that Keys to the Shop does on top of offering this podcast is offering consulting and coaching for you in your business. Keys to the Shop Consulting is where I get to work with you directly to help you level up your operations, people, and quality in your shop, or just help you start your coffee shop on the right foot. So if you're looking for clarity, direction, and to solve some problems and build foundations for a thriving coffee business, working with Keys to the Shop might be a really good option for you. We can do that remotely or on site. Reach out, let's connect, and see if working with Keys to the Shop is right for you. To do that, just email me, chris@keystotheshop.com. We'll set up a free exploratory call to see how I might be able to help you in your business. Again, the email for Keys to the Shop Consulting, chris@keystotheshop.com. Today's episode of Keys to the Shop is brought to you by the Ground Control Cyclops Brewer from Voga Coffee. The Cyclops Brewer is changing the game for batch brew coffee globally. As you see the Cyclops Brewer popping up, wherever it is, that coffee being brewed on that machine is singing, is being expressed and enjoyed in ways that previously were impossible to do because of the limitation of traditional batch brew technology. Ground Control's SCA award-winning technology gives you control and repeatability over a huge range of flavors in your coffees. It's not only a game changer for batch brew, but it also makes tea, batched iced lattes, batched cold brew. It is a versatile workhorse that levels up your quality. I mean, what more do you want in a piece of equipment? Go check them out over at their website, groundcontrol.coffee. If you're interested in leveling up your quality and bringing versatility at the same time to your cafe, then you should look into getting a Ground Control Cyclops Brewer for your store. Again, that website to learn more, groundcontrol.coffee. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Pacific Barista Series. This is the line of plant-based performance beverages that are designed for baristas and is tested by the world's best baristas to make sure that when you're using it, when you're serving it to your customers, you're serving the best. It stands up to the heat from steaming, produces amazing texture so that you can create latte art with any one of their beverages in their lineup. And the beverage itself, the quality of it, focus is on the coffee. These are highly crafted, highly intentional, plant-based beverages. Visit them over at pacificfoodservice.com to get these in your store and see what I mean. If you want to serve your customers the best plant-based beverages in your coffee shop, then it has to be the Barista Series from Pacific. Okay, everybody. Well, today we are going to be talking with the founder of Barista Life L.A, LaNisa Williams. Barista Life L.A is a full-service brand based in Los Angeles, California, that provides training and educational workshops to individuals and companies, as well as offering consultations, private events, and at-home demonstrations. The aim there is to create a safe space for people of all colors, genders, and backgrounds in hopes to educate, restore, and uplift them in the coffee community. And LaNisa's story of coffee and how she has come up in the industry and how a career in coffee has shaped who she is today is nothing short of inspiring. From her early years working at Starbucks and being introduced to the world of specialty coffee and gaining as much knowledge and experience as possible, to then taking the next step to create her own expression and dedicate herself to become a coffee master, sharing the knowledge that she has acquired over the years with everyone that she can. The platform of Barista Life L.A. is also home to the platform Black and Brew. LaNisa is also serving coffee in L.A. under the name of Hustler's Cup. There is so much going on here, and it is amazing to see. And in this conversation, we're going to get to hear the story of how it all started, from the very first taste of great coffee to becoming a professional to finding coffee after life challenges, and then how Barista Life L.A. was founded and has taken off. There's a lot of great advice offered throughout this conversation, and I hope that you really find this helpful. So without anything else from me, let's get right to it. Here now is my conversation with the founder of Barista Life L.A., LaNisa Williams. Well, LaNisa, thank you so much for joining us on Keys to the Shop. I'm so excited to have this conversation. How's it going today?
I'm good. I'm doing well.
Awesome. Well, you know what? Your reputation precedes you. Everywhere I go, people are talking about you and what you're doing and how awesome it is. And so I'm excited to kind of dive into your story on the show today and just kind of start off by asking, the usual question about your origin story, I guess. How did your love for not just the profession of coffee, because I know people's introduction to coffee goes farther back than their profession of coffee. So how did coffee become something that you just loved in your life?
It was when I had got out of prison and I got my job back in a coffee shop, and that was a sign for me that this is a path that I need to go on. This is my second chance to better myself, to make a difference in the world. And from there, I just literally fell in love with what I do, like in being in coffee, because I found that the industry had given me a second chance, and I wanted to just capitalize on that.
So you were in coffee prior.
I think we're going on about 14 years now that I've been in the coffee industry.
Right. So in the beginning, kind of just a job for you, nothing really super special.
Right. I had moved to the East Coast. My older sister had gotten a job with the government, and my niece and nephew one was in first grade and the other one was like 4. And of course, we didn't know anybody out there, or she didn't know anybody out there. So I just decided to go along with her and help her out. And when my nephew turned 5, he was able to go to school, and I was like, all right, well, let me go look for a job so I can, pull some weight. I'm just not here, just not doing anything. So I applied at Starbucks, and it was literally just a job so that I could help support my sister and my niece and nephew and myself.
So in the process of getting that job and working there, it must have left an impression on you where when you're coming back to coffee, it was like, I know what to expect working there. What were the experiences like early on that were impressed on you about working in coffee, even though they weren't necessarily like the falling in love with coffee type of impressions, but what was like the headline stuff that you remember from just your first introduction to the world of professional barista?
It was customer service that that what drew me in. And then the conversations and the people that I met just being behind the bar. That right there, that definitely left a lasting imprint on me. It was mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, how so?
I mean, I worked on 3rd and Pennsylvania, so I was right across from the Capitol and the White House, and so the people that would come in were majority people who worked inside those buildings. They worked at the Capitol. They were Secret Service, the state police and stuff like that. And I had never seen the engagement between someone who was like behind the bar and someone who in a higher position, or like and like the conversation I would have with them, like they would open up and expose themselves, and over a cup of coffee, just because I made them a latte or just because I poured them a cup of coffee. I had these relationships with people who I would have never looked at or thought to even talk to outside of that cafe.
So it grew your sort of not network, but your perception of people in general. Like,
Yes.
you say people are opening up. I remember working, across from a courthouse, years ago, where, people in the suits, and they're very closed off, standoffish, but you realize, man, these are human beings just like me.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. It was like, I still have friends that I met who live there still. I live in California, but it's like we still stay connected. And that was just because of a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Well, it's huge. And so,
Yeah.
When you experienced that, and then got the second chance to go back into coffee, what were you hoping, like when you first got the job after getting out of prison, and your thought process of how you're going to proceed from there? What was going through your mind, and what were the first couple of weeks like working in coffee after that?
So before I got the job back at the coffee shop, I worked there before, and I had to let my manager know, like, I was taking time off to go handle some business. And my only request was, like, if it's possible, like when I come back in town, if I can get my job back. What they told me was, we can't promise you anything, but give us a call when you're back and we'll see what we can do. Um, so like 3 days before I was released, I reached out to my manager and I was like, hey, I'm about to be back in town. Is there a possibility that I can get my job back? And they're like, yeah, like come in and we'll let you fill out the paperwork and we'll rehire you. And going back into coffee, I had a different mindset. Like did a whole year in prison, and I had time to think about what I really wanted to do with myself. And when I stepped back on the floor, like I was nervous. Like I was like, do I even remember all this? Like is and then I had self-doubt, like question, like am I doing the right thing? Is this the right track? And um I had a customer who came in and was like, hey, like, where have you been? We missed you. And I was like, I felt right then and there, like I made an impact in somebody's life, that this is where I need to be. But yeah, I was nervous. I was scared, nervous, trying to remember everything, or even trying to like learn the new drinks that are being released. And like, I didn't learn like latte art until I got out of prison. Like I didn't know anything before. Like it was just basic drinks that we were making, and latte art wasn't required or anything like that. But I made it a point for me to learn all these things. I dove in with an open mind. Like, we're gonna see where it goes, and I'm glad I did.
The idea that somebody remembered you, when that happens, I think, barista work is easily one of those jobs where you keep your head down. A whole shift and a whole week could go by, and like I could tell you, I couldn't even remember what happened that week, just because it becomes so monotonous. But when you realize that impact, I mean, especially with being nervous and looking to get back into some normalcy, was that one of the moments that really helped you push you into, like, maybe coffee is the platform on which I'm going to kind of rebuild and grow from here?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I saw it as a second chance, and I was like, in my mind, it was either go back to what you were doing before, or make a full change and switch with your hustle in a different way. And that's how I had to approach it.
Now, when you start to have that change of mindset and you are kind of leaning into it a lot more with a renewed sense of purpose and vigor, what kind of changes did you start to experience in terms of your own professional development? How did the industry kind of receive you in your professional pursuits once you started to really turn up the heat on that?
I didn't So it was like I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me in the coffee industry, and at first I didn't understand why. I was like, we drink coffee. I see us come into the shops. Like I didn't understand, and I learned throughout like my early coffee journey was there wasn't just opportunities for people like me in the coffee industry, or I didn't see them at all. I feel like once I created a platform for myself, and once I just talked about my own experience, I think people opened up and realized like they're not just baristas behind like bars. Like these are people who have real lives, real situations, and they're human just like everyone else, and they deserve a platform. They deserve an audience. They deserve their flowers. They give them the opportunities that we give everyone else.
Mhm. And is this what started to lead up in your mind to starting Barista Life L.A.?
Yes. So I was working on one of my shifts, and someone came in, and we had a conversation before about just Black people in coffee, and they told me about Michelle Johnson, and they like brought me to her Instagram page, and from there, I felt like, oh, she's doing something amazing, and I want to tack on, or like I want to to expand on what she has going on, and like put a spotlight on it. From there, it went to me moving up in the company that I was at, but coming to a point where that was pretty much the cap for me, and they weren't allowing me to go any further. Then that's when I knew like I need to create something that allows Black people to have an opportunity to go further than what I've seen, and create a space where anybody and everybody is welcome. Like if you want to know about coffee, like it's coffee. Like I don't think it should be put under a lock and key. And that's the experience that I had. It was like, I want to know about this. Can I have the opportunity to go to this class or to go listen to this speaker? And they were like, oh yeah, go ahead. We're gonna send you to that. And then I get bumped for somebody else. So by the time I got to the position that I was in and wanted to move higher up in the company, I noticed that all the minority or Black people who worked for the company were all shoved into one shop. And and it's the one of the shops that is like furthest from everything, and wasn't as busy, but it did its thing. And I just like I didn't understand why we were getting pushed to the side. Like I didn't, and it blew my mind. And I had a conversation with my one of the other managers, and we just talked about how we don't see anybody that looks like us moving up in this company. And I was just like it boggled my mind. Like I have more experience, more, I'm not gonna say like credibility, but I've put in more work than some other people who have just came to the company, and they're getting praised or they're getting promoted, bumped before me, or getting other opportunities. In my eyes, it was merely because of the color of their skin, because I there was nothing else that I could see that would make them, surpass me in that sense. And I was just like, there was just no room for me to grow there. And I felt like I had reached my potential. I've gotten everything I could out of this company in the sense of all the education that they're willing to give me. And if I wanted to take this to the next level, I had to go out on my own and make it happen for myself.
So what did you do to make that happen? What were your first steps in achieving that?
I just created the Instagram Barista Life L.A. Honestly, like that's what I sat down with who is now my business manager, and we sat and talked, and I was just like, this is what I see. I don't see a platform for us. I don't see anywhere for uh like people to see that Black people are dope in coffee. Like we rock just as well as everybody else, and if we have the opportunity to shine, like let us do our thing. And yeah, so I created Barista Life L.A, the Instagram, and all I did was just take photos of me brewing coffee, like coffee education. Um, and that was one of the biggest things is like I would talk to people who would come in and like black people who would come in and I would like, like coffee is a cherry or it's from Africa, like these different regions, and they had no idea. And I'm just like, I want to inform my community of what we're putting inside of our bodies. And yeah. And that's why I was just like, all right, well, here's Barista Life LA. This is just like me being in coffee. This is what I do. And then talking to my business manager, it's like stuff just started evolving. And then I came across a couple, like there's a black barista well, his name is Joshi. He works for Patria's coffee shop. And I saw him and I was like, hey, like you're a dope dude. Like, how can we highlight like baristas in LA that I've come across? And that's when I sat down and we came up with like Black and Brew. And it was just a platform to highlight Black people in coffee. Like, I just wanted people to get their flowers, like show the diversity that's really out here.
What is it? What is behind the term? Because I'm not familiar with the term "get their flowers."
Like let people see who people are, like in the sense of like you've done amazing work and nobody even knows about it. Like you don't people. Some people talk about everything that they do, and then some people just do the work and they're not looking for recognition. They just want to make an impact. And those people, I feel like they deserve their flowers. they deserve someone to see them. They deserve a spotlight. They deserve for their whatever they put out into the world for everyone else to see.
And you're offering that platform to them, to highlight them and gift them that opportunity. And I love the analogy there. I love the phrase, especially because it seems like that causes other people to bloom.
Yeah, and it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Like that's how I see it. Like I'm not out here trying to get no recognition for what I do. I just want other people to see that there's amazing people in the world, amazing people who are not just baristas. Like people see baristas like, oh, they just in coffee. No, they're artists, they're dads, they're moms. Like they're art, like they create stuff. They're planters, like they grow flowers, like all kinds of stuff. Like I've met like just that's because that was my perspective for a while. Like, oh, we're just baristas behind bars. Like that's all we do. We just slang coffee. Like, no, we are creators. We are innovators. Like there's something behind the bar, not just the barista.
Why is it important that we make that distinction? Because I'll just kind of like explain it. My mindset is like a lot of people want to so develop themselves professionally and can start to sort of be consumed by coffee, right? And it seems like what you're after is trying to bring a more comprehensive view to the person behind the bar. I mean, why is that important to coffee in particular with what you're doing?
A lot of people that I've met in the coffee industry, like coffee is their second chance. They've come from abusive relationships. They've been addicted to drugs. They've been, disowned by their parents. And they come into coffee because it's like a safe haven for them. And we're giving, coffee industry does give that opportunity for people. And I feel like that's just the surface of them. Like, and when people walk into shops, you just see them as baristas. You don't see them. I feel like people don't see them as anything else but that. And if we could highlight on their creativity or, who they are, like, I feel like it makes people, they're seen, they're better people. They then can, like you said, bloom and create something that wouldn't have been created if no one gave them the opportunity to be themselves.
It makes me think about how many people are in coffee jobs right now who do view it the same way as you and many others as a second chance, but they don't have the opportunity to develop themselves. And, notwithstanding the fact that there's a limit to what a coffee shop can offer, but I don't think that many coffee shops are really making an effort to really tap into the humanity of their staff as much as they could. So with your company and with this project, when did you see the tide turn in terms of, hey, people are really responding to this? This is something it's not just something that I'm dabbling in. This is something that it is my life, literally my Barista Life L.A. Like, this is now like what I do, versus something that I'm just kind of experimenting with, see if it works.
It had to be like 2019 when I did, was it 2019 or 20, maybe it was 2020, 2020, excuse me, when I launched Black and Brew, and the amount of responses that I got from across the world, it just fueled me. Like, there's people out here who just want to be seen, and they just need an opportunity. And I was like, I did, like we said, we did it as just like as a campaign in the beginning, but the responses that I got, and people saying like, thank you for the opportunity, or like, I've told my friend about you, or like things like that, that let me know that like this was needed, and that I just need to continue to do what I'm doing. And like, I sometimes, have self-doubt about like the stuff that I put out, of like, if, oh, are they going to respond to this? But I'm at the point where it's like, I feel like I'm really creative and I have a lot of dope ideas. And I just want to, even if the world doesn't think, I really think they are. And I drop them, and I just wait for the response. And, I've put stuff out and I've had low response, and I put stuff out and I had, extremely high response. I just, either way, I get responses, and that's what fuels me. It could be one person be like, yo, your post today made my day. That's all I need. If I could just change, give somebody the opportunity to change themselves, or give them the opportunity to get into the coffee industry and blossom and do something, like, I'm fine with that. Like, I don't, yeah, I just want to just make a difference.
Do you feel like your example of putting yourself out there the way that you were just describing, you're dropping things and you don't know necessarily if it's going to be received as well as the last thing, but you're doing it because you believe in it? Is that the kind of thing that you want people to see and emulate also with the way that they approach their careers in coffee?
Yeah, I don't think if we're all different. We all bring something to the table, and if everybody, is get out of that I'm scared zone and just be comfortable being themselves and just being authentic, like, I feel like the world would be a better place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It would be. Like, there's no harm in putting yourself out there. You never know how successful you're gonna be unless you do it. And that's like my motto now. It's like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna put myself out there and see what happens. Because one thing could lead to another, could lead to a whole life-changing opportunity. And that's how I feel coffee did for me. Like, I did my little stuff, and these opportunities that I've had and over the last 2 years have literally changed my life. Like, yeah, it's amazing.
Well, let's lean into that a little bit in terms of like how this has changed you from maybe the time that you first got back into coffee till today. How are you different as a result of taking this on?
I mean, I move differently. Like, I don't associate with certain, from people from my past. I don't put myself in positions where, you know, it's going to lead into a difficult situation. Um, I feel like I have more. I mean, I definitely am a compassionate person, but I'm even more compassionate, I feel now. I'm like, I'm so open. Like, whatever people have to say, like, I'm open to receiving it. Like, I just I have a whole new mindset. Like, I have a positive outlook on just about everything. Like, I yeah, I literally had to change my life like a whole 360 in what books I read, what movies, like, who I surround myself with, my daily routines, um, just how I conversate with people. Like, it's been a life changing experience. It really has.
Beautiful. When you're talking about putting yourself out there and the self-confidence that comes with that, putting that together with what you just said about, learning from people as they, enter your life and, being open to what people are saying. I wonder how you balance that. And, because there's a certain kind of self-confidence that I could have, you could have, that would say, I'm basically not going to learn from anybody because you're not me and I'm just going to do me, and it's going to close off feedback from others. And then there's the opposite, which is I'm going to be constantly petrified of disappointing people. I'm going to worry. I'm not going to be confident. How have you kind of balanced that? And if somebody was coming to you with some career advice that wants to be confident, to put themselves out there, but also needs to grow, what's the line we need to walk there?
I say to myself quite often, like, you only get one life to live, and I'm just trying to make the best of it. Like, if I live in self-doubt, then I won't know how great I am. If I don't listen to anybody, I may be steered into the wrong way. Like, that's a difficult one too, because I don't know. I just live every day like it's a new day. Like, I want these opportunities, and if I want it, I have to go out and get it. And if that means I have to put in work, I have to put in the work for it. Um, yeah, I just try to like keep a positive mindset. I have four sisters, and they keep me grounded. I'm gonna just say that. um, but I keep people around me that like they own their own businesses. They're all entrepreneurs. This is what they go. They've been in this game longer than me, and I'm learning from them on like how to do stuff, or how to move a certain way. Um, but I think I've always been open though to like feedback and learning from others. Like, I've never been one like, oh no, I know it all, because I surely do not. And but I love to put my own spin on stuff. And that's how I feel like I do. Like, I'll absorb all the information that I'm getting, and work it out my way, and then I put it out there.
The idea that you've got your sisters that help keep
Oh
you
yeah.
grounded. I was thinking, like, even if you're somebody who, doesn't have that immediately in your life, that's one of the beauties of being in coffee right now, is the connection of the community can provide
Yes.
that experience, especially if you're open to, giving that to others. It's it's a two-way street. If you want to, be in community, it's like you want to give of yourself, and then you want to also be able to let people give to you. It's this symbiotic relationship, and your platform absolutely provides that for people. And it's not just that though. It's it's this inspirational component. It's a platform, as you say, to help people get their flowers that they deserve for the work they're doing, but also you are actively training and educating. And I'm curious about that component. And did that come like right away? Was that something you added right away, or is that something that came later?
So I started dropping like these Barista Life L.A. Brewing 101 videos. Just like, not necessarily going live, but just doing these videos, and I would post them on my Instagram, and I would get a lot of questions like, "Oh, what is that? Like, how do you use this?" Like, they're watching me do it, but they wanted to know like a one-on-one, like how can I brew better, or what are your tricks and tips and stuff like that. I was in the midst of consulting for a couple different shops out here and training their staff. And I just felt like it's not just for those who have coffee shops, it's for the home brewers as well. And I have a lot of people that I know that just, they brew coffee every morning, but they're like, oh, I would rather go to Starbucks because, it tastes so much better than what I'm brewing at home. Okay, let me break it down to you so that we can get you brewing that coffee at home just as well. And I also needed an income, like a little bit more of an income. So that's when I just launched the classes to make them affordable, because I would look up like, oh, okay, I want to go take this brewing class right here, but it's $400. Why? And I'm not saying like it shouldn't be like I'm not knocking nobody's prices, but I'm just like I want it to be accessible to any and everybody who wanted to know about coffee.
Hmm.
So I just started offering classes, like just for the everyday person who wanted to brew coffee at home or who wanted to know about what happens behind the bar or how an espresso shot is pulled or how do I steam my milk right at home? Like all those things. I just wanted to answer those questions, but I also needed to, make a living doing it. So that's when we just launched the online courses because of COVID. Just started doing classes and Zoom calls, and then one thing led to another.
As I've, developed myself in my career, you start with a passion for coffee. You start to put together a little bit of what your philosophy is on coffee as you go. As you train people, as you hear yourself talking, a lot of times you're talking and you're like, yeah, I really do believe that. I mean, I didn't put it that way in my head before, but it's coming out of my mouth now and it makes sense.
Yes.
It's you're verbally processing your own values, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I love that about coffee is especially as a testimony to how if you put yourself out there, it's like you can develop yourself even more actively in the moment. And for you, as you've been doing this, what is it that you have discovered about your philosophy, or if you've formed as your philosophy towards, hospitality, training, as you're talking with homebrewers, but also consulting with professionals? How is your approach formed, and what are some of the values that you have discovered and developed over this time?
Um, like my biggest thing is I have a hashtag that's hashtag brew you. Like for those who are home brewers, people who are like, oh, I want it to be like this. You're the one in control. So brew it how you want it to be.
Mhm.
Like that's what I always tell them. They're like, there's no secret, like there's no hidden, gem or like a level that you need to get to be like a home brewer. If you know what you know what you like, and we can get you to brew that way. Like I feel like that's a simple component for me. Like when I go into people's homes and I'm helping them brew, or uh, up their skills or introduce them to coffee, like that's my first thing that I always tell them. I said, this is how I brew my coffee, and this is how I like it to taste. But you're the one who's brewing it for yourself, and you're the one who's going to drink it. So brew it for you, not for me.
Mm, that's great. That and so much of our industry right now, especially, is realizing how many barriers we've brought into the equation for customers, especially, where they feel like, oh, am I doing the wrong thing? Am I saying the wrong thing? Even am I tasting the wrong thing? Which
Right.
we've kind of lost the plot a little bit there when people start to have just multiple layers of self-doubt as sort of like the part of the package of specialty coffee. So breaking down those barriers and be like, you can be confident if you like something about coffee, teaching them to do it repeatedly. That's really amazing. When you look at professionals and you enter into those areas, I mean, you have a lot of opportunity to sort of shape the way that they behave with customers and amongst each other. What are some of the things that you like to emphasize in those relationships?
Like my biggest thing is I always tell like baristas, like pay attention to your customers. Like I think that's one of the biggest things is like we make drinks, like you said, with our heads down and we pass them out. But like pay attention to your customers, greet them. Like you see them pretty much every day or at least 3 times out of the week. Like let them become your friends. And I'm not saying you need to go hang out with them or anything like that, but just be cordial. Like you're here, yes, you're doing a job and you're doing a service, but you're also creating an experience for these people. And you want it to be a memorable experience. Um, it could be like I get this a lot, like, oh, I don't know how to do latte art, and they're not gonna like my drink. If you make the drink correctly without any latte art on there, I guarantee you they're gonna love it. It's not necessarily all about what the drink looks like. It's about what it tastes. Um, And my thing is, I put love in every drink that I make. Care about what you do. Yes, it's a job, but it's a fun one. So enjoy yourself. You don't have to be a stickler. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing is like baristas are the younger ones right now, and it's like they're really uptight about stuff, and it's like relax. Like you're the ones in control.
I will tell you that for 20 years ago, working the bar, I had a lot more fun than I think a lot of people have right now.
Hmm.
And it was harder work because our tools were worse.
Right.
We had to clack, clack, clack,
Right.
grinders and all that stuff. I have carpal tunnel and it's great, it's whatever. But people are super serious about
Yeah.
coffee, and it does kind of rob some of the joy from the experience.
Yes. I like you said, I remember being behind there and having a ball. Like my first working at Starbucks in 2000 and what, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was fun. Like everything was manual. Like you had to do everything yourself, but it was fun. Like I definitely enjoyed myself. Sometimes I go into shops and like they're frowning. I'm just like, bro, like what's going on? Like what's wrong? And I mean, sometimes I feel like it's because no one sees them who they are behind the bar, and then they're not like, they're not having fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my whole thing is like, relax, have fun. You guys are the ones in control, so
Yeah, yeah.
you're
So
good.
you're in how you're helping people, of course, is to when as they pursue their career, they're pursuing this profession of coffee, they can take that experience and just like you did your own thing because there was only so far you could go in that company.
Right.
And people that develop a sort of self-confidence around what they're doing could start to see the value in maybe changing where they are and
Yeah.
advocating for themselves and going to a place where they know that they can grow more.
I think like being behind the bar, like my whole thing when I'm doing trainings, I want to give you the confidence that you need to feel like you're great behind the bar. Like and that could lead into something else. Like if you don't necessarily. So I have this young man that I'm training right now, and he doesn't necessarily want to be in coffee, but he needs the confidence enough for him to go out and go do something else. And by being in coffee right now is allowing him to grow that confidence. I think that like that gives him an opportunity to like be yourself behind the bar, take what you've learned in that confidence, and go to the next field that you desire, and go do that same thing. Like have that confidence, have that will, have that get up and go, that momentum to go do your thing. And that's how I see. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take this and take it to the next level. That's all I ask.
Yeah, the idea of coffee shops often is that it's a transient business, and we sort of hate the idea that people don't stay with a coffee shop, but that is actually somewhat of the purpose of a coffee shop in some ways. It does launch people into other areas of life, and if you view people as a comprehensive person and not just that barista like you're talking about, then you're going to help them the way you're helping them. The boss, the manager will be the one to reach into that person's life and say, like, how can we make you successful in your next step? Like maybe even help them get out of that coffee shop.
Right.
Like
Right.
what manager in their right mind is going to be like, hey, it would be great if you left. It'd be better for you. I'd love to go look for somebody to replace you. Uh, but if we're thinking about the health of the person,
Yeah.
maybe that's a real thing.
Yes. Yeah. That definitely is. I've worked with this gentleman who now like does what is it called? Stop motion for like Disney.
Mm.
And he was just behind the bar, just making drinks. But the conversations that we end up having sparked him to then want to speak to other customers that came in that were in the same industry as him. And which allowed him to then leave the coffee industry and go pursue his dream. Like, and I think just having like those type of conversations with your staff, or like you said, asking like, what do you want to do besides coffee? And if it's coffee, that's fine. But if you have a different goal in life, and you're using coffee as your springboard, if owners or managers would tap into those things, I think that would open up so many other opportunities, and all filtering, like, I'm not saying like through coffee, but you springboarded from there and got somewhere else. I think those opportunities, they're out there. We just have to open up a little bit and kind of like allow them to come or receive them when they do come.
Well said. My last question to you here is on the same note, really. I mean, the idea of, somebody who's got a dream, or someone who wants to, let's say someone who wants to get into coffee and really work in coffee and develop themselves professionally, but they feel that there are limitations, there's borders, there's maybe things that feel like they're insurmountable, in their lives. How do they go about, what would your advice be to them, having yourself overcome a lot of things to get where you are today? What would you say to them to encourage them to take that next step?
I would tell them, just go ahead and make that next step. Like, find whatever that you're passionate about and then tap into that industry. Like, in order for me to do what I do and for me to know what I do, I had to tap into the coffee industry. I had to ask questions. I had to ask for help. And when I didn't receive it, I had to go out on my own and make it happen. In the sense that, like, I had to do research myself. I had to go ahead and, I had to put out money and purchase certain things in order for me to understand, the coffee, for me to gain the knowledge that I have. And like Nike, just do it, man. Like I said, you don't know what's out there or how successful you're going to be or what's in store for you unless you just do it. Like, don't wait for no one to hand you anything. Like, that was my whole thing. Like, I can't wait for nobody to hand me opportunities, because no one's gonna see me if I'm just here just waiting. So unless I put forth some effort or put myself out there, that's the only way I see opportunities are coming. I have to put out what I want to receive.
LaNisa, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This has really been a fun conversation.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. How can we stay in touch with you and what you're doing at Barista Life L.A.?
You can go to my website, which is baristalifela.com. My Instagram, Barista Life L.A. And then my other Instagram is Hustlers Cup Cafe. And we're going to be dropping a new location for that soon. But yeah, that's how you can get in touch with me.
Excellent. Thank you so much again. Wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed that episode. I hope that you took a lot from the wise words that LaNisa shared with us. There's so much that we covered, but in particular, what impressed me the most is the idea of balancing learning from other people and being open to letting them help you with development, personal development, and also at the same time having the self-confidence to vote on yourself, to step out and do what you need to do and make things happen. So keeping one in each hand and moving forward seems like such a huge key in how LaNisa has developed as a professional and is running Barista Life L.A. And it's definitely something I think we can learn from, and it'll be helpful for us as well. So a huge thank you today to LaNisa Williams for joining us on Keys to the Shop. You can find out more information about Barista Life L.A. by going to the website baristalifela.com, and you can also go to Instagram to follow them on Instagram. That is at Barista Life L.A. And you should also follow Hustlers Cup. That is at Hustlers Cup on Instagram. Now, if you have any comments, questions, or feedback from me about this episode or any other episode of Keys to the Shop, feel free to reach out, chris@keystotheshop.com. That's CHRIS at keystotheshop.com. That's how you can reach me. Always love hearing from you. Now, one of the things I'm really excited about for 2022 is the lineup of Coffee Fest trade shows, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Seattle, the heavy hitters. And, it's the 30-year anniversary of Coffee Fest. That's right, 30 years, 3 decades of what I think is the best event and trade show for specialty coffee retailers who really want to learn how to thrive in their businesses and in their careers. There's the workshops, lectures, trainings, the community, the trade show floor, of course. You've got competitions like the latte art competition, cold brew, and you get to explore the great coffee in each of these cities. There's a ton on offer. I go to all of these shows and present lectures and train and judge latte art. I would love to see you there. Go to coffeefest.com to learn more information, look at some of these cities, see what's on offer, and register. Again, that website, coffeefest.com. And with that is the end of our show today, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I really appreciate all of you and how you've been faithfully listening to Keys to the Shop over the years. I know there are lots of you who have been listening ever since the beginning. I have a very special place in my heart for you. And it is really great just to be able to continue to do this show. Thank you all. I hope you have an amazing day. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.